Hey, what's up, Chicago? Guess what? It is Monday, October the 5th. Is that right? Yeah, Monday, October 5th, 2015. And Taking the Limits Off is on the air live from your West Side Studios located on the third floor of Kingdom Missionary Baptist Church. And we have a great show for you today in the studio with you. As always, it's your boy, your host, Mr. Dana L. King, alongside my host, co-host in the studio, host, whatever you want to call us. We all the same. Minister Devon, how are you, sir?
Good. How's it going?
Cold, man. It's cold in the studio. It's a wee bit chilly, as they would say. My man got his sweat on. I was trying to be cute, didn't put a sweat on. Cute don't work in Chicago. Let me go ahead and
not around this time.
Pull them bad boys up out the young cleaner bag they've been sitting in since last year. Yeah, it's time about to get them out because it's a little bit chilly.
Oh, yeah. I figured I would go on the bill today.
Yeah, I see. I see you got this Cosby on. You got no pills in your pocket.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Oops.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, look at y'all. We got a great show for you guys today. Great show. We got one big good article we're going to talk about. 9 sins the church is okay with. Yeah. It's the appearance. 9 sins the church is okay with. We're going to really talk about that. That's going to be good. But, man, let me get a rundown how you can contact the show. If you're already listening on your phone via your mobile device, just simply push 1. And if you're listening to me now, if you do is push 1, and you can get on the show with us and be a part of today's broadcast. If you're listening via Blog Talk Radio, there you go. Just dial 855-381-8804. That's 855-381-8804. And you, too, can be a part of the show. If you're on social media, so are we. Simply go to our website or our social media page. It's Facebook. Go to Facebook. That is Facebook. And do a search for Taking the Limits Off with Dana and Devon, and you can find us there. Once again, go there. Like our page. I don't know what y'all waiting on, but go ahead and like our page. You can find us there. If you are on Twitter, so are we. Go ahead and tweet the show. You can find us at Twitter. That's at TTLO Radio. That's at TTLO Radio. And you can find us there. If you want to email the show, simply email the show. It's real simple. Taking the Limits Off at Comcast.net. That's Taking the Limits Off at Comcast.net, and you can be a part of the show. And last but not least, you can watch us on Ustream. Ustream, we are up and running. What's up, y'all? See y'all already watching. Y'all came in quick already on Ustream. We see you. Here we are, afternoon, waiting on you. If you want to chat with us on Ustream, just simply go to Ustream and do a search for our channel. That's Taking the Limits Off with Dana and Devon, and you can be a part of the show. And the chat room is open. That's right. The chat room is open. What up, and what up, in the words of Martin. So the chat room is open, and you can be a part of the show as well. What's up, people? Let me send a quick one out. There we go. And last but not least, if you want to be a part of the show after the show, you want to recommend the show to your friends, the podcast is available immediately after the show ends. That is on iTunes. Simply go to iTunes. You can download our podcast for today's show. And that's simply by doing a search under podcast for Taking the Limits Off with Dana and Devon. What's going on, man?
Nothing much.
How was your weekend, sir? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good.
How's weekend? How are things at the House of Worship over there at St. Philip's?
House of Worship. Things are going well. Things are going well. So, just another Sunday where, God is doing some things. As always, excited to be there. I was actually dressed up yesterday.
What? Stop the presses,
wait, like, hold on.
Let me give him if I had some pearls, I would clutch them. What?
I should have took a picture.
Man, you had on like a suit?
I had on the suit.
A whole suit.
Yeah.
Not just the jacket.
With the Donald Trump shirt on.
You had on the Trump shirt? I ain't even tripping.
No, I'm just.
I actually got like 3 of them. I want to get rid of them, but they real nice. They real, they real nice. But yeah.
And then I just with the bow tie situation.
Okay, yeah.
With the hanky. So.
So you had your little your miniature.
I actually had a pink and white shirt on.
Oh,
I was, in support of
breast cancer awareness.
Yes, sir.
Just so we correct on this, so y'all, because I had a little confrontation. I don't know if I told you the bowling alley with the lady. She told everybody that she wanted us to wear pink all month on Saturdays.
Okay.
Pink shirts if you can. And she made the announcement, and she said, well, I need y'all to wear y'all pink shirts to support breast cancer. And I said, huh? She said, you need to wear your pink shirt to support breast cancer. So after she got off the microphone, I walked up. I said, excuse me. I said, you did mean breast cancer awareness, right? Because we don't want to wear pink to support breast cancer. Well, you knew what I was talking about. I said, I'm just saying. I just, was I wrong to say
it's awareness?
Was I wrong to correct to pull her to the side and correct? I didn't jump on the mic behind her and say she meant awareness, because that's what I wanted to do. But okay, all right. I
think those are two different things. Just to say, to support breast cancer, versus
breast cancer awareness. Right? Come on now. Yeah. I mean, So you started your new series this month at St. Philip's? Did you say you're starting a new series? Sir. And what's that entitled again?
Seed Time, Harvest Time.
Seed Time, Harvest Time. Amen. I like that.
So that foundational verse is found in Genesis 8:22.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
where
good.
God said, for as long as the earth remaineth, there shall be seed time, harvest time, day, night, cold winters. Yeah. So it's like, wow, okay, what does that mean? So basically just talked about what we sowed into for the last few months.
Okay.
That's going to be the manifestation of your harvest.
Okay.
So if you sowed in praise, if you sowed in prayer, if you sowed in fasting, that's your portion. For in whatever it is that God is going to release in this season, because there is a harvest coming. But now if you've sold in corruption, if you've sold in some other things, then this is a season where this is simply what you put in is what you're going to get out. Wow. And if you did not plant a seed, that means that the enemy was planting seeds in you.
Oh, okay. So if you ain't planting no seed and you won't know why you hungry. Okay. Yeah, your garden a little light, Doc. Yeah. You wonder why ain't nothing popping up? Maybe because you ain't put nothing in there. Okay.
You can't.
Okay.
You can't plant apples and expect oranges.
So isn't there a scripture? Help me, I might be wrong, because I too have fell victim to creating scripture at points. Was about if you sow sparingly, you reap sparingly. Is that is text? Yeah. I thought so. I ain't crazy now. Yeah. So you've been lightly sowing, and you want to know why you just keep lightly receiving. Then okay.
And if you're just looking for monies, then you missed it. You missed the bigger picture. It's funny because even in Genesis, it also talks about nothing can produce anything outside of what it's supposed to produce.
Come on now.
So he says, man can only reproduce man, animal can only reproduce animal. The same thing that goes for fruit when you're planting it. If you plant a piece of fruit, it will not produce a vegetable.
Come on.
So that goes to say that whatever you're planting, that's what you will get in return. And then I talked about how sometimes your harvest doesn't come in the season that it is supposed to. But your harvest can be held up. Just like Daniel's blessing was held up. Come on. For his prayer. And so, the only way to get the harvest is that we have to stand, as the scripture says, in due season. If we hold on and not faint, then we'll reap the harvest.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. That's good stuff. So two apples can't produce an orange. That's what you're saying? Apple seed can't produce.
It just will not happen.
There's a lot I can go with that. It's just like, Adam and Steve can't.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Huh? I'm just saying it ain't meant to. There's no fruit from that.
Yeah. It won't be able to produce anything.
Yeah. You can fake some fruit. You can go and adopt, and you can do that, but you can never make anything from that. Even Yvette can't go and. Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure I was on the same page.
Which is kind of interesting that when God did bless the institution, he blessed it to reproduce. If we find ourselves doing something, that God is blessed and there's no reproduction, then we need to question what's going on.
Uh-oh.
You know what I mean?
Uh-oh.
So, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Man, woman, man, but it cannot produce the blessing that God placed on it.
Come on. Come on. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Excuse me. I didn't grab my water when I came up here. On Facebook the last couple of days, for the last few weeks, since especially with all the killings and shootings going on in Chicago, there's been some different posts that have been going around, and I meant to share this one with you guys earlier on the Taking Limbs Off page. But there's a picture up, and it simply says, it's a bulletin board that somebody put up in their town or whatever.
Oh.
You saw this one, I'm sure. Yeah, Cain killed Abel with a rock, it says. It's a heart problem, not a gun problem, and they use Jeremiah 17:9 as their reference. So they're trying to say that it's not the guns that are killing the people, it's the people who have a bad heart. Now, I agree to an extent, yes, these are people who do have issues of the heart that are out doing the shooting. But please, my super theologians, my over-the-top Christians, my been saved all my whole life people, miss me with the Cain killed Abel with the rock and it not with a gun. Because contact me when somebody goes, let me get sure I get my throat clear. Yeah, I was about to hoop. When somebody walk into a movie theater with a bag of rocks and start killing people, when somebody walks into a school with a bag of rocks and starts throwing them and actually killing people with a bag of rocks, when somebody goes down a block, a neighborhood in their car, and instead of doing a drive-by with a gun, they do that with some rocks, then you give me this sign. Because, see, don't tell me what Cain did with a rock 3,000 years ago. I don't want to hear about that. Because, see, ain't throwing rocks today. So you try to use this and exegete this scripture to fit your little bulletin board, and then y'all posting it around, and some prominent people posting it too, and y'all sharing it around and everything. Matter of fact, let me go to and y'all let me go to our good friend of the show, Keith. Keith Gordon posted it as well a couple days, and some people went in.
Really?
Yeah, some people wasn't feeling wasn't feeling the post, you know. And Keith, like me, I am an advocate for gun ownership. I am, but don't try to sugarcoat it. And this is what Pastor Gordon said. He says it's a heart problem, not a gun problem. It's a moral issue, not a legal issue. Mm-hmm. He says we cannot legislate or vote away sin. Sin can only be destroyed by the power of God through Christ Jesus. He says when people begin to value life through the lens of God, then they would be hesitant to take another's life, which is a gift from God. Everyone needs Christ. Then they can have everlasting life. And he used the picture as well. What was so interesting was some of his responses. You know, you got of course the cheerleading squad. They all, woo, wonderful, amen, pastor, amen, I love it. Somebody put the drop the mic symbol up and all of that, and then reality sets in with my brother David Ziegler Jr. He says, yeah, find the verse where one person killed 10 people with a rock and then stopped and picked up more rocks and injured or killed more. He said, find me that verse. Then he said, Richard Watkins responded. He says, when someone quotes the Bible, a murder manual, as a moral authority for ways to die, the argument is void.
Wow.
He called the Bible a murder manual. Yeah. Yeah, bro. We was on the same page till you went there. Walden Merber, this guy, great article. He says, as soon as someone with a rock kills a whole school, thank you, sir, and affects a whole generation, then we should outlaw them also. We can no longer afford as a society to parrot the NRA sayings and propaganda. Those of us who care about our children and communities need to stop reinforcing bad thinking. Gun deaths are changing the whole fabric of our society and how we interact with each other more than any other issue. And yet we keep playing pity-pat with gun manufacturers and repeating their brainwashing. Shame on us. On a week all those young ones died. Shame on us. Yeah. Again, I am an avid supporter of gun rights, but I also believe that you need to have to go through some processes to buy a gun. I'm sorry, and the laws on people being caught with illegal guns need to be, those are the ones that need to be enforced to the max. Stop locking people up for 5 years for carrying a bag of weed. And I'm not a weed smoker. I'm not supporting weed smoke, but I'm simply saying locking a brother up for carrying a dime bag of weed versus somebody who's carrying a legal firearm just walks free because it's a first-time offense. No. Put all the onus on that foolishness. That's just my thought. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's clearly a twofold issue because it definitely speaks to what Pastor Gordon said.
Yes.
This is definitely a hard issue because to go out and take somebody else's life for whatever reason, it says that there had to have been some sort of hatred or envy,
yes,
or jealousy in your heart to take someone else's life. Now,
that
on
I
the
agree
protection
with.
side is
Yes.
different because you are defending your life. I guess the illustration with the rock is that when you take weapons and you take people's lives, and I guess the rock would represent the gun. It is a weapon used to kill somebody. As you said, there need to be stiffer laws.
Yes.
There needs to be a program in place where people can disqualify themselves if they can't make it through the class to hold the rights to have a weapon.
Right. What's wrong with a real background check?
A psychological evaluation is necessary.
Yes.
And then, being able to track guns, if you know that they're going to shave the serial number because it's placed on the outside of the gun, how about you engrave it in the inside of the gun?
Oh, they've gotten smarter though, because you can track a gun or a bullet from the gun by the striations on the bullet. So what they do now is they'll use a gun, and then that same gun they will take this, and I hope I ain't helping no criminals out, but I'm just gonna tell you what they do. They will take some steel wool. And flush it down the barrel of the gun, creating new and different striations. So the next time they shoot the gun, it looks like it came from the bullet came from a different gun. And then they do that over and over again until they either ruin the inside of the gun, then they dump that gun, because all you have to do is and you're constantly changing the inner workings of the strike. You're changing what shows up on the bullet when they go to match the bullet in forensics. Yeah, foolery. But so you're right. You need to do something with the gun where there is a identifying marker that the gun owner, does not even know exist. You know what I'm saying? You need to put it in there. It's like on your car. Your VIN number is in the windshield, but it's also on the door well, and it's also I believe it's somewhere down on the engine block. I'm not sure where it is, but they got it all. The VIN number is all over the car.
Yeah.
They need to do that with the guns. And guess what? Put it somewhere where put it in a place where if you try and scratch it off, you ruin the gun. How about that? How about you put it somewhere?
and
yeah.
And honestly, I don't see things getting better.
I don't either.
I don't foresee that happening. Hey, Christ is coming back soon, and a whole bunch of events need to take place.
Yeah.
And so we look at the world as it exists now. It'll only get worse when the whole war situation and people turning on each other. The hearts of many will wax cold. This is the time in the season that we're in, and because we've been pre-warned thousands of years ago, it is a clear sign to us today that the Bible is true and that people need Christ.
Yeah.
Because guess what?
Yeah.
Even if, these things are under control, something else can take your life. And, driving down the street or whatever, is your life secure? Going back to those kids, and they actually interviewed one of the students who survived the shooting.
Yes.
Got a chance to hear that today. And, this guy, that was his whole MO. to make sure, and she said that he chose a student that would live to tell his story.
Wow.
So, as it relates to that, look at this. Look at the heart of this person who carried this gun, who determined in his heart that he was just going to go shoot up the place, and anybody that was Christian would die. And anybody who probably didn't have a religion and weren't whatever, they would live. It takes somebody who seriously has a heart problem to go and do something like that.
Absolutely. It's you had the Oregon school shooting, you had the mass killings in the city of Chicago, on a weekly basis. It's unfortunate, but it's a weekly thing.
Every other day.
Yeah, it's every other day.
Maybe every day in the city of Chicago.
It could be.
Right?
I mean, literally.
So what's the real solution? Because we're seeking to do a lot of things in the natural, and I think that we have to because of a governing system. We still need a governing system. It's just like functioning in the world where we just be like, oh, everything is spiritual.
Right. We take away the red lights and the green lights.
Yeah.
And
so even in God governing the children of Israel, there were laws.
Yeah.
And if laws were broken, there were consequences for those things. And so how do we reach a world where it's so chaotic is the real question. I guess if we're going back all the way back to the root, Pastor Gordon said it. He mentioned one word in his post, and that is sin. I don't think we talk enough about the effect of what sin has done to the world. You know what? We always talk about, oh, you committed the sin.
Yeah.
You committed the sin.
Yeah.
But the power
Yeah.
and the effects of sin, we don't spend a lot of time helping people to understand that.
The ripple effect. That sin you do today causes a ripple effect down the line, and you might not see the biggest part of it. You only saw when you dropped the rock in the water. You don't see what it did on the other end of the water when the ripple went up and what the effect was. So you caused minor damage where you were, but people left you broken, and then those people, because of the situation with you, went and broke other people. The whole thing, hurt people. Yeah. So if you caused all this damage, and you caused damage with either talking about people or hurting people physically or whatever, and then those people left because they couldn't tolerate it anymore, left hurt with no answers and no solutions to the issues, and then they went on feeling like, okay, well, guess what? This is how it works. Then I'm going to go hurt people too. And guess what? I'm going to be better at it than you were.
It's almost like it's that simple cause and effect.
Yes.
And then a lot of people do it unknowingly.
Yes.
Figuring like, this is just me and this is just who I am. And I've come to conclude this is that we refuse to deal with people in the natural, and we only want to deal with them in the spiritual.
Wow.
It's like this, and I've argued this, and I've started to argue this, and people probably look at me strange. I said the Bible didn't tell us exactly how people would be affected by what Adam did in the beginning. It just simply said this: look, you shall surely die. That was all God said. Right. You don't see into the New Testament, or you see when the laws are created, that he says, okay, I'm against this, I'm against this, I'm against this. But now I'm going to stretch out and say something that most people won't say. I can sit here and say this, that sin is also the cause and effect that people are born with unnatural affections.
Wow.
So because
that's good.
I had a conversation with someone and they said, well,
that's good.
God created us, right?
Yeah.
God created everything.
Yeah.
And the thing is that God wouldn't create things that he's not pleased with. Well, there is a creation right now that God is not pleased with. So what happened? I said, what we failed to see is this. God created Adam. He didn't create you. You came through Adam. I mean, if we really want to do text.
Come on now.
If we're looking at the text, it
Come
says
on
that
now.
all man came through Adam and Eve.
Come on.
Now, God created Adam.
Uh-huh.
And through Adam, creation continued to reproduce. Now, whatever Adam did and whatever was attached to Adam came on us.
Yeah.
So that means, I said, now, if people are born with deformities, watch this, because we'll accept this. This is how biased we are. People are born with, limbs that don't develop.
Down
people
syndrome, all of
people
that.
born, with all type of different deformities is
Yes.
what we like to call them. But you can't be born with the disposition of liking the same sex. Wow. So my question was, okay, when you were growing up, did you choose the desire to like what you like? Or was it natural to you?
Well, let me get on the other side of that.
Go and jump on.
Let me get on the other side of that, because I'll agree with you to the point where it's a sin issue. It's a sin issue first, and it's a natural sin issue in some cases. In a lot of cases, I remember reading a post by, what is his name, Dr. Umar,
Okay.
where he said that a lot of cases, especially with young boys, they get that way because at some point somebody touched them, and it was never addressed. It was never addressed, so they never got a chance to physically heal from it. They thought it was something that they did, and then now that they're older, they assume that, well, because I have this stigmatism on me that only I know about, then this, and now that there is an open lifestyle available for it, let me go ahead and jump on this, because now it's accepted worldwide by everybody, even in the church.
When it used to be taboo.
Exactly.
And so that's just one element.
That's
of
another element of the ripple effect. Yeah.
So we have the sin of through birth. Now watch this. How deep does the text go when David says, I was born into sin. Yeah. And I was shaped in iniquity.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is he saying?
Yeah.
He's saying that I came with this disposition.
Right.
Whatever that disposition might be, whatever that imperfection might be.
Right.
And so now it's like, well, how come you was born that way and I wasn't born like that? But you may have been born, and that may be your testimony that will get you over to the other side, but mine will be different.
Right.
So everybody is born different. Then we have to do, that's why I said it's spiritual as well as natural. Now, the part that you're talking about is that we don't help people get through the process. This is psychological. What he's talking about is pure psychological.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So now it's like there's nobody to help me get over it. And you know what? The average church leader may tell somebody who don't know no better, let me just say that, is that we just going to pray that the Lord heal you. I can tell you that is probably 10% of what needs to happen during that process. The second part of what needs to happen is because you realize that you're not equipped enough to deal with a situation like that, then you need to seek out professional help where these people, because right now mentally they're struggling with some things. It's in their psyche. And so you need to reach out and get them connected to people that can help them. What about Ted Haggerty's situation? A person who was always, and if you know anything about his story, he said he always had, these unnatural affections.
Yes.
But he never really played on them.
Right. He never acted on them.
But then guess what?
Yep.
It was the very thing that caused him to fall.
I think it, and this is for, and hopefully we can help a parent or a teenager or a child or whoever, adult, hell. I mean, you cannot, if you're truly concerned about a son, a daughter, whatever, family member going through a crisis like this, and it is a crisis. Let me not even joke about it. Homosexuality is a crisis. I know what, and we may have and may lose some lesbian and gay listeners. it is a crisis. I don't care. I understand what you're saying. I understand you might feel you were born this way. But it is a crisis because at the end of the day, it is unnatural. It is unnatural because it is not that the living species, meaning just living species. When we were talking about the whole alien thing the other day, the living species were made to procreate with the opposite sex. The only way the species survives is that it procreates with the opposite sex. When the species no longer procreates, then the species becomes what? Extinct. Yeah, that's what happens. So, and it's not about you. You can say, "Well, I don't want to have no kids anyway." Okay, that's you missing. You're missing my point, sir. You're missing my point, ma'am. What we're simply saying is this. If you're not going to, you need to have a real conversation. And I completely agree with you about pastors. Every pastor, you may do well at marriage counseling, pastor. You might do well at anger management, pastor. But pastoring pastoring teenagers who are having questions about their sexuality, as far as what they like and what they may not like, as far as male, female, male, female, female, you need to go seek some help. And you're not going to get that. I'm sorry, man, and I haven't looked at the curriculum, but you ain't going to get that at Moody. At Liberty, I'm sorry, and none of the schools. I ain't throwing nobody under the bus. I'm simply saying you need to go out and seek professional and not somebody who you're seeking to have them talk to them so that they can brainwash them. No. Right. But to talk to them so they can at least feel comfortable having the conversation. Because here is where we as parents, as adults, and as Christians, here is how we screw up the process. Instead of talking to the child and trying to really sit down and listen to them about the situation, we ridicule them. We talk about them, and then we don't allow them to even have a format. And the format can't be you sit down and talk to me and 35 other people. No. The format has to be myself, your mother, your father, and that's it. The people who are in your lives. If it's you and a step parent, you got to go. If you don't talk to the baby mama or the baby daddy about nothing else, everybody need to sit at the table with this one.
Yeah, it's important.
And guess what? You have to be okay with the fact that when you get through with the conversation, that they ain't gonna leave and be changed because you spoke to them. Because there's going to be a process. And now if you are really concerned about their situation, then now you have to take the steps necessary and walk with them along the way. And let them know it's okay to come to me and talk about it. You say up front, no, I don't agree with it at all. You put that out there. I mean, no, I don't agree. You ain't finna bring no Negro to my house talking about he picking you up, and you ain't, and she ain't finna talk about some she coming to pick me up. She, no. And they can't come to dinner. No, I'm sorry. Let me stop.
You know what's interesting, and that really speaks to people who have dropped the ball as far as their kids having to go through that because we're looking at it was always somebody close to the kid that molested the kid.
Yep.
Family member, close friend of the family, X, Y, and Z. And the part that is really sad is that the kid tried to tell you over and over and over again
in some kind of way
that this person touched me.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable.
This person did something to me. Yeah. And even if the demeanor of your child changes when the person steps in the room, it should raise a red flag for you. And not only that, if everything seemed to be cool one day and you saw your kid distant from this adult, for some reason you need to be questioning it. See, what happened is that it got pushed under the rug, and so when your kid got older, you just tried to push it off and say, this kid just confused. They don't know what they want, but you won't tell the whole story that kid told you that Uncle so-and-so touched me, cousin so-and-so touched me, auntie so-and-so touched me.
Wow.
And so now I live a confused life, and you who have not been woman or man enough to step up to the plate and say, you know what? I helped cause this pain.
And Wow.
And hopefully this person does not turn around and repeat the same process to somebody else.
And that's exactly what happens. You get to a point where this person has been allowed to cause all types of pain and issues with lots of children. That's why you got to be so careful about who works with your kids. You got to be careful who works with your youth men. You got to be careful who you let come to your house and hang out with your kids. You got to be careful who you let your kids hang out with. It's funny. It was funny. Yesterday we was eating dinner, and we were talking about going over people's houses. Did you get to go over and hang out with people's houses when you were kids? And I was always saying, well, I never wanted to go to people's houses. I wanted them to come to mine. Mm-hmm. And that was like the gist of the conversation. Like, we never wanted to go hang out. We wanted people to come to our house. For one, my mama wasn't letting me go to any and everybody's house.
That's right.
And somebody brought up a very good point. They said, yeah, you might know the mama and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I met his mom. His mom is really nice. And you might even know the little brother. Mm-hmm. But you don't know who else live in the house.
Right. Exactly.
You don't know about Uncle Buddy in the basement.
In the basement.
You don't know about the neighbor who plays with all the kids on the block and got the fun house built in his backyard, but he ain't got no kids of his own.
Creepy.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Somebody should always be supervision or monitoring that situation.
And take it a step further. This is how the church got itself in trouble. You have a lot of the male gospel artists, I'm going to go this far with it, that have either been in a homosexual lifestyle or are currently in a homosexual lifestyle or whatever. Donnie McClurkin said out of his own mouth that it was somebody in the church that got to him. I will say this about some of the singers that I know, not famous, but some who are in the church and they're doing well in the church. They were touched by somebody in the church. They were grabbed and coddled and talked, oh, well, you great, and the Lord, the Spirit is good with you, and all these other things. And because it's church, people let their guard down, and you let your kids go on these little trips and all this other stuff, and then you come back, and all of a sudden your kid is different, and you ain't paying no attention. And then when your kid gets up to sing in church, he's crying, and there's tears balling out his eyes, and the first thing out of your mouth is, oh, that's just the anointing. No, your child is hurting. Your child is hurting, and you can't understand that because, see, you blind because, oh, the anointing is full. Oh, that baby just full. No, that baby is hurt. That baby ain't never done that before. You need to find out why he or she is singing that way and see what's really going on behind the scenes. Yeah, the song might have touched them, but there's something else going on for that song to have the effect that it has, because there's something in y'all need to recognize that there's a lot of things that the church is culpable for, that we have sat silently. That's why I get so heated about it, because it's like now you want to jump up and you want to bash the whole community. Well, damn it, some of the community started in your damn church. Let me just put it out there just like that. Some of the community was born. That seed was planted in your youth ministry.
Yeah, and looking at what we come to see last Friday, with one of the pastors who was supposed to be counseling the kids behind the scenes, and there was some fondling going on behind the scenes, and then
some historical stuff came up.
Yeah,
this is the first time he's been arrested. Ain't the first time he's been accused.
Yeah.
But where was the church when the first accusations came? What real investigation took place?
Yeah. Kids lie. Yeah, they do, but you need to find them in the lie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kids lie. So you dismiss it. But what about this time when he didn't lie?
Every time. I'm sorry. Let me say this. There is no way. And I only have my one son. He's 19 now. But the kids that I dealt with here at Kingdom, there is no way one of those kids, male or female, boy or girl, could have come to me and said, somebody touched me, and all hell wasn't going to break loose in the city of Chicago, because I was going to your mama house, whoever house you went to. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning one night because somebody called me and said they got somebody put something in their drink, and they woke up and didn't know where they was. I got in the car and drove to go get them from a party. at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Because they say, I don't even remember how I got here.
Yep.
But then we want to, well, you just need to pray for them. You need to be in church. Okay. Guess what? They in church every Sunday sitting right next to you and then being molested or going through something. Come on now.
In church, but have not connected to the church.
No. You
get what I mean?
Yeah, in church, they connected to your traditional stuff.
Yeah.
They know how to do church.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But not be the church.
My God.
You know, you just need to show up and because we have not explained away the things that God has made visible to us. If that makes sense. Like Paul said, the revelations, God has made known to me the mysteries that have been hid from the foundations of the world. Now, just believe or just show up. We just going to pray for you. A person, let me give you a good example. Let me tell you how we've gotten into the routine of just telling people, we just going to pray for you.
Wow.
Think about the guy who shows up. You've never met him before. He shows up. He comes. He gives his life to Christ. And ultimately, most of the time, people give their life to Christ for many reasons.
Yes.
So in this case, this person heard the message and knew that they really needed to get themselves together, and they were homeless. And they let the pastor know, you know what, not only, this, but I'm homeless, and, is there any sort of resources that you guys can use to connect me with? Do you know what the dumb preacher would tell them? This is the dumb preacher. We going to pray that the Lord find shelter for you, brother. Done.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely done. At this point, you were worthless to that person.
Yeah.
And that says something about what are we intentionally trying to do? Are we intentionally just showing up to preach a good message and go home?
We trying to grow membership.
Are we, through just the preaching of the word, getting people to show up. But are we more intentional about building relationships, connecting people to community and community to people?
Man, we're getting
I'm just saying.
I know.
Sister comes up to the church. She got 4 or 5 kids, and they don't have anywhere to go. We gonna pray for you
right now.
I'm done. I'm done. That is not enough. There should be somebody in charge of what is called resources in your church.
One of the things that I loved about that thing we did a few years ago. Where we were on the corner of, I think, Chicago Avenue and somewhere. It was supposed to be 100 men on the corner or whatever it was. And we were on the corner of Chicago Avenue, and we got there. We were there from like 7 o'clock up until like 1 o'clock in the morning. And we were on one of the hot corners. It was like Chicago Avenue and I can't think of the exact street we were on. But it was like Chicago Avenue and Holman, somewhere over in that area. And the guy came up. It's like 11:30 at night, and the bros who worked the corners was mad that because we messing up their business, So they one of the guys bold. How long y'all gonna be here? So because people coming up, the customers coming up still want to get to work, but can't because it's us, and then the police are constantly driving around, So one of the things that happened was about 11:30, lady came up. She had all of her stuff was in an Aldi bag. Never forget this. All of her stuff was in an Aldi bag. And she said, I am tired, and I've tried on my own, and I cannot let this drug go. She says, I'm tired. And she said, y'all come out here and y'all pray. She said, but who gonna help me? And one of the ladies that was out there said, you stand right here. And she picked up her phone and made a phone call. And a van came up and picked that woman up and said, you won't be out no more. See, now I don't know who she was, but she was part of the group. She came. Her husband was out there on the corner. She came with him, and she came and he called her, and Van came and picked her up, and then another guy came up, said he was in a homeless situation. Say, no, dude, we got a shelter. Which one you want? What side of town you live on? What side of town is the closest? Where do you want to be? West side or south side? So you have to have, even if your church does not provide the actual service. At least you could do is provide the resource. Man, we got some good comments coming in on on Ustream. Excuse me. It says anonymous 82271. Anonymous says we getting deep. He says, yes, that's what I've been told. Sometimes prayer isn't always the answer. He says, when you're going through hard times and the preacher tells you to pray and you get out the door, it's like all the air being let out the balloon. Wow. He also says, when I look to the church for answers and they made me feel like I was a burden, that's when I had a change of heart towards the church. Wow. He says, sometimes pastors don't have all the answers. You're absolutely right.
Yes,
he says, they should simply say, I can't help you, but I still love you. And the church has never anything, the church has never anything to anybody. It's the people, but we need a name. Okay. Then he says, I took my daughter out of a youth ministry because of a late night text message with a leader. Of course, I have trust issues. I was something, and he says, and I have discernment. Okay. He says, I was always too trusting. I always thought of others before myself and always got hurt. Suffering comes with Christ. He never promised us all good days and great people. He says, if you put your trust, everything in him, he will never let you down. The Bible never told us to put trust in man. Man is fallible. I know all of this from experience. I'm sorry. So that was from Anonymous 8271, and then our other listener, Lisa 3179. We also got an email. Okay. I won't even say the name of the emailer, but it simply says, help me. I seriously don't know how to deal with it. And I'm assuming this is talking about the homosexual child or sibling issue. Yeah.
Wow. One of the people I recently connected to, actually, she wrote a book, and it talks about how the church was not even able to deal with homosexuality. In this book, she talked about the church didn't have an answer. They didn't even know how to take this person from being in that lifestyle to walking towards being, in a natural sort of lifestyle.
They didn't know how to give them direction.
They couldn't transition this person. And so there was like, now you just throw on the dress and now you just throw on this. Or if you're a male, you put on a suit and you deal with this. And the sad part about it is that I think it all starts with prayer.
Yes.
Let me just say that.
It starts there.
It starts with prayer. It'll also end with prayer. You know what I mean?
But in the
even
middle,
during the process, we still praying. But with that, we have to get to a place, if this person is tired and saying, listen, and it's funny because I just had this conversation. I said, there are people who want to come out of the lifestyle, but it is still a struggle. Now, some people might get mad at me, but because God delivers you does not mean that the temptation does not continue to show up.
It's like a drug addict.
And so what we can do is, I know if you send your information, I will personally connect you with that person. I'll get you their information. They're on Facebook.
Yeah.
And they actually have a ministry here on the west side of Chicago that's this woman. She came out of the lifestyle and she lived it for 20 plus years.
But the person now you have to make sure you understanding that I believe the emailer,
male or female?
I believe the emailer is referring to a child.
Okay.
Is trying to deal with their child going through this.
Oh, their child is going through this particular situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's no proof or guarantee that the child wants to come out of it.
Yeah.
See, that's a little bit.
Yeah.
See, that's a little different.
What cannot happen, I would say, during this process is that you try to force them into living a lifestyle that you think they should live. What happens in this case is that you can only simply live the life before them. You can also encourage them whenever is necessary to try to get them to possibly come out and be a part of a Bible study. But what I believe is more helpful than anything is that if you find groups who have similar situations with kids who are struggling in the lifestyle, it's a good thing for you to come and be a part of that community. Also, what another thing that I would do too is we have to start at the beginning. We need to find out why the kid feels this way. Yeah. While the desires are there, did something happen?
Yeah, when did the attraction
That's the
change?
first thing, when did you notice, or has this child always been this way from growing up? Because I know, and I argue that point simply because I had a cousin, And, there was nothing before him that would say, you need to like men. But growing up as a kid, there were a whole bunch of signs, and he wouldn't hang out and play with the other boys. He just would not do it. And even to this day, he has chosen that lifestyle. Now, I said there's a big difference between a desire or an affection being attached to you and you making the choice
to follow
through with it.
Right.
Big difference.
Yeah.
So you say, well, it's a choice because they practice it. But was it a choice desire-wise? That's my argument. Because you can't tell me just because you were born and you had the natural desire to like the opposite sex that somebody else couldn't have came out differently with the fact that sin is in the world. That's my only argument. And so what we do is the only thing, even us, the ones who walk straight and like the opposite sex, guess what? There's still sin in our life, and we still need Christ just like they do. The part that I believe that they're more angry about than anything is the fact that we put that above every other sin.
Oh, absolutely.
Now watch this, Bible readers. Here's what the Bible declared too. Okay, that was an abomination before God. Now watch this. In the New Testament, Paul told us this. He said, did you not know that God himself would judge the fornicator and the adulterer?
Yeah.
Now watch this. What that tell you? God said, I want to deal with y'all personally.
Yeah.
And he says that the saints would judge the rest of the world. So now if we want to kind of weigh this thing out.
Come on.
It looks like sexual impurity is a problem for God, period. But the church, we only talk about one side of it.
We only talk about the homosexuals.
When you finish talking about the homosexuals, now you're going to have to deal with the incest that nobody ever wants to talk about.
Which birthed the homosexual.
Come on.
The child molestation, birthed.
We don't want to talk about the incest that's happening in our families.
In the churches. Uncle so-and-so. You get
what I mean?
Yeah.
So we dismiss all of the other stuff. That's not of a big deal. But right now, the movement is what it is. It's exactly what Jesus said. It'll be like the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. What do you think he was talking about?
It's interesting because we will say that we'll talk about how when a child is touched at a young age, it kind of forms their future. They make choices based off of relationships. The same thing happens in regular male-female relations. When a female is hurt, she feels used, then all of a sudden she becomes what she fears the most. She becomes that person who says, you know what, I'll let all of this stuff out the door. I'll put all my stuff on display. That way I'm controlling it. Same thing happens with guys. When a guy is hurt, when the guys get hurt, women always like to call men dogs and all that stuff. Men are not born dogs. Dogs are created. Let me help y'all. Male dogs are created. They are created by some female somewhere that twisted him up all in his head at some point, had him running upside down the street. And when he came back to himself, he said, you know what? I'll never be hurt like that again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm just going to start running through as many as I can. So now I'll never be in a position to be hurt that way again because it ain't just going to be one. Everything has an effect.
Yeah. So and that's just from a relationship aspect.
Yes.
So what about from broken relationships that should have been there?
Yeah.
Okay. Or the pattern, the product of your environment, so to speak. Where we saw daddy who was a womanizer.
Yep.
Guess what son does?
Yep.
Watch the Bible.
Yep.
David did what he did, and guess what his son
did?
Solomon did.
Yep. On a larger scale.
And it was the very thing that really took him away from true worship and fellowship with God. It was women. Yeah. And you know what? Solomon, he wanted to be open. He wanted to be open to care and to love and accept This is where the church is, to accept whatever everybody else brings to the table. You know, this is my concubine, and she's from you know, over there, and you know, she worships a different God. That's okay. You can bring the statues into the house of God. You know what? Because I'm accepting you for who you are.
Yeah.
So now we have this issue. Now that it's out of control, the church don't know how to deal with it because it was the church who pushed it under the rug.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, bishop, pastor, apostle, so-and-so, you help set this thing in motion because you repeatedly did those things to kids. Look at the situation that happened with the Catholic Church.
Yes.
Come on now.
Yes.
All of those people who were out there, I'm talking about grown men, people well into their 40s and 50s, still dealing with the scars of being touched, being mishandled. And most of all, the bad part about it is that their trust had been broken because they had confidence in these people who they trusted to be a part of their life.
Told, if you read any of those stories about the majority of those men who were touched in the Catholic school or Catholic church, they told somebody, and nobody believed them. Nobody believed them.
And you know what the church did?
Yes.
They simply moved the priest to another parish.
This
is our solution.
Yeah, in the instances where it was brought to light, just ship them off.
Yeah, we'll send them that way.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that we close this profile on this guy.
Yeah.
So what you have is a repeated offender placed into a house of sheep. But he's a wolf. Nobody dealt with the fact that they never said, priest, you know, you got a problem, and priest, we cannot allow you to be around more kids.
Yes.
But this was our solution. We sweep it under the rug. You know why? Because nobody wants to take that look in the mirror and say, I am that monster. My cousin is that monster. My uncle is that monster, had been that monster. And nobody, and the sad part about it, and I know this for personal experiences because something happened to me when I was a little kid. And I came to realize that it shaped my future.
Wow.
It shaped my future. The broken relationships that should have been in my life, it affected me growing up, even as an adult. And the only person that allowed me to see that was God. Have I forgiven that person? Yes, I have. And guess what? I have to see this person.
Wow.
And guess what? This person was a family member.
Wow.
And guess what? You know how the people said the women with the whole Bill Cosby thing, they never came out? Nobody in my family ever knew it happened.
Wow.
Never knew. And I'm really extremely close to my mom. But you know why I did not tell? Because it was embarrassing.
That's it. That's where it comes from. That's exactly where it comes from. You have I remember this as a kid. There was a lady on our block. She babysat all of us. She babysat me for like 2 years. Her name was Dorothy. She took care of like everybody's kid on the block. And she had boys and one daughter. And we all hung out, played baseball together and everything else. And a lot of the kids would always, you know, spend the night. And for me, I'm like, I'm the house down the street. I don't need to spend the night. Plus, I like sleeping in my own junkie room. I don't need to sleep in a junkie room with all these other people. But it wasn't until we got older that some of those boys came up and said that when they spent the night, one of her older sons be like, he want to come play a game. Like, what? What happened at night? No, I can't go. I can't. No, you should come. No, me and Star Wars and G.I. Joe, we gonna hang out in my room down here. We ain't going down there. But what was so interesting that you said that, it is an embarrassing issue. And as much as we like to joke around, and I'm the biggest jokester out of all of them, but we when that conversation happens, you have to be open as to find out, and this is to our emailer. You need to sit down and take the conversation out of your comfort zone. So don't do it in the house because, don't do it in the house. Go somewhere. Go for a drive. Go somewhere and have a conversation and say, look, I understand this situation. Even if they haven't came out to you or they've tried to and they partially did and all that stuff. If you're really serious about finding out how they got there and then what the next step is you have to have that meaningful conversation with them, the parents, mother, father, baby daddy, baby mama, whoever it is, stepmom, everybody got to be, that group first has to be willing to say, okay, we just going to listen. If you're not willing to do that, because see, this is what happens, especially when you're talking about blended families, when it's if it's a father who's got a father and who's got a kid, and then all of a sudden he marries somebody else, or if it's the mother who marries somebody else, that other parent, that auxiliary parent, so to speak, the one that he doesn't live with, or vice versa, or she doesn't live with, you have to make sure that there is a relationship there where it's the concern of the child come first and not my issue with you.
It should always, the child should be the center of why you do what you do.
Right.
So it's always having them in mind first.
Yeah.
And, your feelings are always set to the side. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then working towards always coming to an agreement based on this is in the best
interest of the child. One of the things that I know everybody can't be Will Smith and Jada Pinkett, so I'm not even trying to compare that. So please ignore that part. But one of the things that I like about their conversations when I've listened to them being interviewed, because Will has a son by his, I don't know if it's his first wife or first girlfriend, however it works, but he has a son with him, and they all live at the Smith household, I believe is the way it works. But they said when they travel, when they do major things, they include her. They always include her. When it came down to schooling, it was like, is this cool with you? How do that way it's always a constant. That way it's not like, well, I'm going to do this because that's my child. I'm okay with it. Y'all better get okay. And that's not the case.
Yeah, you'll always have conflict.
You're going to always have a fight with
versus when it's co-parenting involved,
right,
and the parents aren't together, there is always what you have to do consistent or constantly is negotiate.
Yes.
Come to a middle ground where both of you guys are satisfied with where you're going to, what the move is going to be for the child next.
Yeah.
So as we look at that, it's going to be extremely difficult, depending on the relationship that you might have with your kid. And because oftentimes for me, and I can only speak for me, I buried it.
Yeah.
I buried it. I didn't talk about it. And then on top of the fact that, I had cousins growing up, and they always made fun of people of that lifestyle, and they would always say that this person is going to be like that. Now, to have something like that come out in the wash to say, it was true, even though we joked about it, it was true. So no, nobody will never know that this happened.
Right.
It happened. And I distanced myself. And that's probably, and I've come to conclude that's probably why I'm an extremely private person. And I don't let everybody in. I know this, and I know it's due to that fact. Looking at that is like, I distant myself. I never ever really try to get close to people like that because I know the potential.
Yeah, you don't want to open that door. So you keep this
for you to hurt me is possible.
You keep that wall up
if I become vulnerable to you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So and that's something that has to work in the process. When you come to grips and know these things, now you can start working on it. It helps you become a better person because you can't be like, well, I'm not going to trust anybody ever again. But you come to find out that it affects you. And how you've saw things for a very long time, and how you dealt with situations for a very long time.
You miss things.
Yeah.
You block a lot of potential blessings because you've never gotten over the situation that either was done to you or that you possibly did to somebody. So because you don't, for one, the first thing that and I remember in the one of the things that I did appreciate about Liberty was in the pastoral counseling classes. Well, it was a segment of a class because it wasn't a full class, but it was in a segment of class. The first thing they always said to us was, you always tell the person you're counseling is to make sure that the first thing you do is forgive yourself. Whether it was done to you or you did it.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself first. He said that's the first thing you got to do is forgive yourself. He says because the problem is we never forgive ourselves, and in the process of not forgiving ourselves, we bury that thing. But the thing is, we bury it, but we don't kill it.
Yeah.
See,
So it still lives in us.
See, there's a difference.
And by default, it affects our choices.
You only supposed to bury stuff that's dead. Because if you bury something that's living, then guess what? Something is going to grow out of it, like a seed. So if you plant something that's dead, then it's dead. But if you plant something that you have not yet forgiven yourself from, then that thing at some point is going to birth out of you something that you never expected, and 9 times out of 10, something that you cannot handle. So you have to learn to forgive yourself first. Parents, if you have a child who is going through this situation, the first thing you have to do is you cannot blame yourself.
Yeah.
You cannot blame yourself. Are there some things you could have done differently? Absolutely. Yeah. But that's in anything. Yeah. That's no different than now for the kid who goes and shoots up a school, and you knew he had all them guns in his room.
And you knew he was a little off.
And you knew he was a little off. See, I got some I'm just saying, them kids from them Columbine kids. Yeah. They had closet full of guns at home.
One kid was saying that he would, but I think that parents or the dad was a hunter.
Yeah.
And so
he thought it was normal. He bought him guns.
Yeah. I don't know if he ever thought that they would probably do something like
that.
But
when your kid sits up and now I mean it's kind of like there was a scene from the movie from the TV show Empire.
Okay.
At the very first season, with the whole issue with the relationship with Terrence Howard and his son Jamal, I believe is the name, the one that sings like a goat. Y'all know the one. Where he came down the stairs walking in some high heels. And Terrence Howard character picked him up and threw him in the trash.
Took him outside and threw him in the garbage.
Yeah, didn't try to see what was wrong, try to see, and he threw him in the trash. And now I don't know if the purpose of the writing was kind of double-edged, because I could have took that to say him throwing him in the trash is what turned him into that, to push him into that lifestyle, or was him showing up in the high heels something that was already in him, or was he just trying to be funny in that moment, and it got taken out of context, and because he was so hurt from being thrown in the trash, he went back and said, well, this is what I'm gonna do. You know what? And don't.
I think I'm gonna take the story
that he was already.
There was some things attached already.
It was already explored. He was being explored. Yeah.
When you start seeing boys. Wanting to paint their fingernails and their toes. Yeah. And just do things that by nature girls do. I'm telling you.
But is that from a father's absence in not wanting to take interest in what the child wants to do? Let's say your child isn't into sports. Okay. So your child isn't into sports. He's into acting. And for some fathers, old school fathers, that ain't no real job. That ain't boy, you ain't supposed to be singing, you ain't supposed to be dancing. That ain't what you're supposed to do. Men don't do that. And that's not true. I don't know what Gregory Hines.
You gifted.
Gregory Hines is one of the best dancers ever lived. Sammy Davis Jr., one of the best dancers ever lived, best entertainers ever lived. They were men.
James Brown.
Michael
Jackson.
Well, I was going to avoid Mike, but
but
even still,
I mean, and we can use.
But look at the Michael Jackson situation with the relationship between him and his father.
As a kid, the abuse.
When that father is abusive, or he appears not to care, and the mother is the one who ends up doing all the coddling, then now I want to be more like my mama than I do like my daddy. See, for me, I know for a fact. See, my father was never around. So I couldn't say that I'm anything like him at all. I couldn't say that at all. But I can say that I picked up some habits from my mother that I wish I did not have. Help me, Lord.
Same here.
Right, exactly. But I love my mama. Don't get me wrong, please. Y'all don't get me beat down. But I'm just saying, I picked up some things from her that had a male figure been around, I would not be so, like my mom is quick to get mad. My mom can hold a grudge for years, for life, so to speak. She
I hope to never be on that end of the
I
stick.
know, and I have tried. That's something that I fight constantly, because I can easily be the one. I am, and people who know me, and I can say this: people who know me, and people who used to know me, know that I am that brother, because I got it from my mama. When I cut you off, it's done. Like there is no. You don't.
Thank God for grace.
Man, help me with that. That's why that's a constant prayer for me. Yeah. Help me get out of my own way, because what'll happen is, you get to a point where you get so mad and angry where you say, you know what, I'm just done. And when I say done, I mean did he move? Did he leave the country? Where he go? Phone number change, address. I will pack. People know this already. I will pack up a house in a minute. I will pack a house and be gone on y'all. And you show up at the address, the last address that's why the only address people got for me right now is on Wilcox. Because that's the only one they know.
Done.
So when I show up there, they're like, man, we thought weren't you living in you went to Mars, didn't you? Because see, before I let you get me in that situation again, for my safety and mostly for yours, I got to go. So I just leave a situation, and that's why. And when you get to a situation like when it comes to church and Christianity, because you made mention about making sure that the person is involved in groups and all that stuff. Here is where the church needs to really have a resource. A lot of these kids are in church. A lot of these kids are singing in choirs and praise teams, mime dance ministries. They're in all these different ministries in the church, so they have the church involvement. Mm-hmm. They know how to do church, but where is the relationship at? And that's where good Bible teaching from someone who teaches on their level is so important. It's wonderful that they sit in the pews and hear your sermon on Sunday. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. But after Sunday, when that parent has to deal with, like our emailer, when the parent has to deal with that situation, where are the resources for that? And you can't be afraid as a pastor and as a leader to talk about it. We don't talk about it. We preach about it. And we throw Sodom and Gomorrah out there. That's all we got.
We condemn people about it, but we don't say that, it's not a place where God can't save you from.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we'll sit up and we talk real bold and back. I'll go to jail before I marry a same-sex couple. You know what? That ain't even the issue, bruh.
No, I'll go to jail.
Bruh, I'll go to jail. If they tell me I got to marry somebody, I'm going, bruh.
I don't think they'll infringe upon.
But that's not even that's not even getting to the heart of the issue, because there's some people sitting in your pews when you up there sticking your chest out talking about I'll go to jail before I marry a married couple or before I marry two same-sex people. But what will you do for me, sir, sitting in your audience, or me, ma'am, sitting in your audience who's struggling? What's your answer for me? You telling me what you're going to do for the law that was passed.
Believe the Lord. We just gonna believe God. When we move beyond that, we start doing real ministry.
Yes. You got to believe God with some action behind it.
Yeah. It's just like healing. If your last diagnosis was that you were diagnosed with cancer, we stand on the promises. We stand on the text. The text declared that we needed to call for the elders of the church. Mm-hmm. And I've seen people do some strange stuff. Mm-hmm. And to me, if that's what the Bible told me as a principle, then I'll look for, the outcome. You call for the elders of the church. Mm-hmm. Both, as Pastor said, this could be both. We can't tie it to one thing. So let's tie it both ways. Both naturally.
Yes.
And spiritually.
Yes.
Because you can be on your deathbed spiritually.
Yeah, my God.
Some people are on their way out, and have no relationship. So, but he says that you do this and the prayer of faith will save you. But okay, after this has happened, I don't go around and say I'm claiming my healing, and you know what, the chemo treatments and all of that stuff they told me to do, I'm not gonna do it. That's not wisdom.
No, that's not wisdom at all.
What you do is that they've set a date for you to do this.
Yep.
And then you're believing that God has already started the healing process, or he's already done it.
That's it.
Request that more x-rays get done before you even start the chemo. Because now, once the x-rays come back and it says it's all negative and we don't see none of what we've seen.
Come on now.
I stood in faith until the process and didn't have to go through what the natural way said I was going to have to beat cancer.
My God.
But I did what I was supposed to do spiritually, and I believed God. So, you know, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait on my, and then you did 3 months later. That's not wisdom.
We as a church have to get out of what I am duly going to call the Walking Dead mentality. And when I say the Walking Dead mentality, if anybody's ever watched the show, The Walking Dead, they have what they call these, when they go to a new town, they try to avoid what's called nests. And a nest is you open up a door to a house or a room somewhere, and out of the house comes 50 or 60 walking dead people, walkers. Some of you preachers, some of you pastors would rather have your 700, 800, 1,200 seat sanctuaries filled with some walking dead folk instead of some folk who were living and breathing with real issues. You don't know how to address the issues. So instead of address the issues, you constantly go and seek out the walking dead to fill your pews. So that's why you look around these churches. We might not be able to get in here on Wednesday. That's why you go looking at these churches, and you see folk just all of a sudden. You see 3 more people sitting over here in a ministry that you ain't never seen before. You don't know when they joined the church.
Wow.
Or they did join the church, and all of a sudden they in the ministry. You ain't did no research. You ain't did no background. All of a sudden, you look down, and all of a sudden in your youth ministry, you got 3, 4 folk working in your youth ministry. Why? Because they got some kids. So because they're a parent, they obviously are a candidate for the youth ministry. See, we'd rather have Walking Dead than to do some research to find out on, are you qualified to work in said ministry? Because if you qualified, you might see something in my child that I don't. But then you can run to me and say, hey, your child got some tendencies. And even if I'm offended, I'm going to at least check. Even if I'm offended, I'm at least going to go and check and say, okay, you know what? And because then now here's the deal. If they got some qualifications, they just ain't going to come to me out the box like that. They're going to say, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? Have you noticed anything strange about a little this one or a little that one? Because what I've noticed is he's real standoffish. He doesn't like to be touched. You go to try to help him up. He's kind of really those people can point some things out to you that you as a parent don't see coming. That way you don't get blindsided. You don't get blindsided when all of a sudden that child comes to you and say, hey, what size dress you wear? I think I wear the same size. Can I go shoe shopping with you, Mama?
Yep. And so it speaks to the idea that you should have trained workers that are dealing with kids.
Get some.
And I'm talking about trained
Yeah.
as in being able to detect certain things. I mean, spiritual discernment is something that we need to pray for if we don't have. That why, these spirits and what these kids could be dealing with. But on the natural level,
yes.
Every person that is in your youth ministry dealing with kids, they need to take pedophile classes. They need to have a background check done on them. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to happen in a process before they're released into the hands of kids. You need to make sure that these people are competent. But if you don't have a standard.
What's the old saying? If you don't stand for something, you fall for anything.
When you don't have a standard.
My God.
I mean, standard speaks to being all over the place. So that means that as we go, as they say, we gonna fake it till we make it. No, that won't work. What do you have is chaos because there's no standard for leadership. There is absolutely no real mentoring happening because these leaders need to be able to mentor as well.
Faking it till you make it. Let me tell you what they get you. Fake it till you make it gets you bad credit. And you can take that a couple of ways. You can take it. You can take that in the physical, carnal way that I meant it. Meaning, when you fake it till you make it, you going out buying stuff you know you can't afford, and you trying to fake like you make X amount of dollars and you don't. You want to take it to the spiritual level. You want to fake like you're doing ministry. You want to fake like your ministries are all so successful, but the only thing that your ministry is producing is hurt, broke people. Not broke financially, broke spiritually. You're producing hurt and broke people, and guess what? They leave out and they go into the world based off what they got while they was faking it at your church. And then they go somewhere else and continue to fake it. Hallelujah, praise Jesus and all that good stuff. But their life is in shambles because they were never actually shown or sat down and given true, they were never given true information. They were never given a true path to anything. So now they go out into the world based off of this dogmatic, broke, beat down, traditional crap that you've been feeding them for 35, 45, 44 years. And now they go out into the world and can't survive. And then you wonder what happened. And then what we turn around and say is, well, he was in church his whole life.
But did you ever test how much they learned in church?
How much church was in them? He might have been in church his whole life, but how much church was in him?
So, and I know we said we would start docking people for using the M word.
Yeah, come on.
Let me just suggest this. The thing about them, it speaks exactly to what we're talking about, is that they want something that's authentic.
Yes.
Not something that it's over their head, not something they cannot connect to.
Yes.
But they want to be able to connect. It needs to be tangible.
Yes.
And it speaks to a generation who's come out of a place where a lot of mishaps have happened in their lives. So when you think about it, they've come from broke situations.
Yes.
And their thing is, we can identify a lot of broke things within tradition, and we are not going to be susceptible to that same type of behavior, performance, shenanigans, whatever you want to call it. We're not doing that. What we want to do is something that is real.
Yeah.
And we want to introduce people to real situations. We want to help people help others in real situations.
Yeah.
But because we understand that we're broke and we need healing, we can also identify with other people who are broke and who need healing. And that's why I say I'll say stuff across the pulpit that won't nobody else talk about.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to talk about it. I will talk about it because you know what? The people who are sitting in your pews, in those pews,
that's what Paul did.
Or those chairs, they're real people. And while we telling our Bible story, we have not yet been able to even get beyond the surface of where we worship.
But you want me to come to Sunday
in the
school?
Community where people are poor, they are uneducated, where they don't have jobs, where they are on welfare, and they have kids who have other issues. A lot of them are single parents. Nobody's preaching sermons on that.
How do you expect me, if I come from a broken home and I come to the house of God that you worship in and it's broke too? What am I supposed to do if I come from a broken home and the place that I come to worship is broke?
Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing that the Bible talks about almost any and everything, but we're very limited in what we present to the people every Sunday?
Oh, no, because we only want to...
We're not going to talk about incest, but even though the Bible is the place where we identify what incest is.
I believe that's where it started. I mean, let's just keep it real. That's where it started.
Where it shows the illustration where when one brother loved his sister to the point he went in and he raped her. Why are we not talking about that? You know what we want to talk about?
We want to talk about the...
Won't he do it?
Won't he? Won't he?
Is he good?
All the time.
We serve a great God.
All the time. All the time.
But nobody's saying, I've been there where you were.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When I was a kid, I didn't have what you had.
Yeah. It's hard for me to see the good when I'm sitting in the middle of the bad, and you keep preaching about the good. You don't take me on the journey.
Right.
See, you don't take me on the journey of David's daughter being raped by David's son, and then take me on the journey after that. You don't take me on that part of the journey. You just take me through David and Bathsheba and then that's it. And David was a man after God's own. David was God's man. That's all you give me is surface.
But we're not going to go deep into what David had to deal with his family.
Yeah. There was some real consequences with that David and Bathsheba story. There was some real consequence. Not only did an innocent man die, an innocent baby died. The baby that was birthed from that first child that was birthed didn't live, 7 days? I believe we just did a Bible study on this the other day. Just I think it lived 7 days. So they had to go through that. And because the Bible, when you read it, everything seems like it's happening right then and there. No. You're talking about months and weeks and years of grieving, of pain. When you saw David lay on the ground and say, Lord, give me a clean heart, the next day everything wasn't roses and pink daisies and all of that. He was still hurting.
It's still a process, but he understood that he couldn't stay there.
Yes.
That's when God told him, look, this is just not going to change.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since you said it,
yep.
Then I might as well continue on being the king.
Yes.
Because right now I'm not even operating as the king.
Wow.
I'm operating as a man who is hurting. And what is interesting with that is a baby died during that situation.
Yes.
A man died.
Yes.
And also a number of people were killed.
Yes.
When the angels came and they killed people because of what David did.
Yes.
And God spared David. So when we start talking about how we want to slay people, we have plenty of examples in the Bible of people who got it wrong numerous times.
Yeah.
And other people paid the price for it. God was still merciful and graceful and gracious to David.
Wow. We got another comment real quick, and I know we're about to run out of time. Quite a few. I'll read some of these. It says, this is some information for the parents. He wrote a book about it on Southside Chicago. I can't go back up and see the rest of the comment. Why can't I go back up? Come on now. Really? Something about a book. If you could resend that again, I'd appreciate it. I worked on a ton of those cases. The life these adults went through, the stories were horrible. Some of them were drug addicts. Thank you for being transparent preachers. Abused children, messed up adults. I know because I'm one of them. Wow. I've searched so long, I'm tired of looking. She gives some advice. Need you to pray honestly. Be transparent with God. Ask him to send safe people in your life to help you, to get you through the process. However long it'll take, you can be healed and be helped. Love God. Fake victory. I want real victory. Wow. Raleigh Mayberry wrote a book about, I guess it's about the parents dealing with homosexuality.
Wow.
Raleigh Mayberry. He's a Southside preacher. So we'll look that up. What's the name of the book? If you can send us the name of the book, we can put that up. We can definitely do some research on it. But look, man, look, sorry about y'all who listened in for the article. 9 sins church is okay with. We'll get to it eventually, but it wasn't going to be today. You want to pray us out, my brother?
Sure.
Thank you.
Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for the opportunity to go over the airwaves via internet to be able to speak into the lives of people. Lord God, we thank you for bringing us through another week, another weekend of worship, praise, and thanks to you. As we spoke on the issue of abuse and how the church has been negligent with handling the situations of homosexuality as well as other forms of abuse. Lord God, we pray right now, God, that you would send leaders who have wisdom and that they will have not just the wisdom but the resources to deal with the hurting people that walks through their doors week in and week out. And Father, we pray right now, oh God, that even those leaders who may be suffering from some things that have happened in their childhood, Father, that you would bring forth healing into their lives as well. So Father, we pray for those who are in need of a miracle, of a blessing, of your love, of your tender care, and to know that you're still there with them, God. We asking that you would speak to their hearts today. Right now, Father, we pray, and we do ask this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Hey, man, look, y'all, it's been a great show, man. Sometimes, you know what, you just have to go with the flow of the show, and it was a great show
10
today.
seconds.
Hopefully you guys got something out of it. Look, we'll be back on Wednesday, man. Until then, y'all be blessed. TTLO.
Are you ready for your next level? Oh, yeah, give y'all a place. I need your glory. I want your glory. Here it is. Less of me and more of you. Wow. What I need. Come on, say, show me your glory. Show me your glory. I'm ready for my next level. Me too. Show me your power. Less of me,
with the pastor.
more of you.
Congregation, you never really touched on
What I need. Fire, will you help me sing? I want your glory. That's my desire now. I crave you. More of you. What I need.
Now you can throw the gravy on top.
Thank you for
After the
using
fact,
Blog Talk
I need to
Radio.
make this-
Goodbye.
This announcement that anybody who has dealt with this issue, see me after church.
Yep.
We gonna get you connected.
Yep.
And totally heal. You know what I mean? Yep. So it's like, but you know, you get these people happy, but then you going back and you still got the same issue because nobody is counseling from the pulpit, so to speak. You know what I mean?
You giving me all gravy and no meat.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm about to go back into that.
The world.
The deacon of darkness.
We still on Ustream? Hey, y'all.
You stream, we out of here.